I want this to be a disclaimer that I'm not endorsing Guitar Center as a place to take lessons. This is simply my experience taking lessons there. It's kind of incidental where you take lessons. Every instructor is different. Hello everyone, Chris Grant here again. I was at a Guitar Center about a month ago and they had an open house thing and about lessons. So they told me I could sign up for like a free introductory lesson, which I did. And I met an instructor there for my first lesson, the free one. And he wanted to see what I could do. So I had my sheet music with me and I played some Hal Leonard stuff, Elton John, and a couple of rock tunes from the 100 greatest rock songs of all time. And he saw that I could sight read pretty good. Now this instructor is more of a jazz piano player, so he asked me about using fake books, which I never really use. He said, well, can you read chord symbols? And I said, yeah, I know what an F minor 7 or an A minor 7 or a C major 7, I know, what that means. So he said, you want to try Autumn Leaves? So he gave me the Autumn Leaves fake book version. And he said, next lesson we'll go over it. So I decided to sign up for lessons. I signed up for 4 lessons. And they're about $25 for half an hour. With tax, it's like $27 for a half-hour lesson, which I think is a fair price. So I was working on Autumn Leaves. Now my second week, my instructor wasn't there. I had a substitute. And we went over Autumn Leaves a little bit. And I didn't practice it a lot. And it was kind of sloppy. It was not very good. So he said, I told him about my dilemma about not having a lot of time to practice. And I said, I need something to maintain my skills and learn tunes, but not have a lot of time. And he said, well, he teaches a lot of people that don't have a lot of time. They work full-time jobs and they play piano. He's taught doctors and they play piano. So I'm like, well, if they can do it, I gotta try and do it. So his recommendation was to play songs slow with a metronome. And I'm kind of like mixed feelings with a metronome. I don't always play with a metronome. So he told me, try it. Use a metronome, play slow, and he thinks that will help. So I'm like, okay, let me do this. Let me try it with a metronome. So I'm going to play Autumn Leaves, just the A section, with a metronome at a very slow tempo, and I play with rootless voicings. So at my first lesson, I also was trying to work on Christmas in Killarney and Ain't Misbehaving, which that first instructor I think he really liked Ain't Misbehaving. I had the sheet music for both those songs. So now I've been kind of trying to work on Crispus and Killarney for a while, and I just don't have it. And I don't think it was a good choice for this class, these lessons, because it has kind of a very freely playing beginning. There's no steady tempo in the beginning until the song kicks in, until the verse kicks in, and then it's got a steady beat. But then at the end of the song, it doesn't have a steady beat right to the very end. It does kind of a pause here and there. So my teachers are kind of anal about using a metronome, so I don't think it's a great song choice because they're locked into using metronomes. So I play it freely, and I play it partly with a metronome when I practice to make sure I'm playing it on a steady beat. Now, Ain't Misbehaving has got a lot of chord changes in it. I like that song a lot, and I play it really slow. And my idea is to get the fingering down. Playing with a metronome is great to an extent, but if you don't have the fingering, playing with a metronome is not going to do you any good. You're going to be making a lot of mistakes. It's going to get very frustrating, and you have to hear that click throughout your practice. That drives me nuts. So I think my conclusion is it's best to get fingerings down first. You don't have to play to a metronome first. Get the fingerings, get to know the chord changes, and then as you get more confident, then play with the metronome. So I'm going to play it without a metronome, very slow, and that is my advice or my conclusion to learning a tune. So far, I've had just the 2 lessons. I still have 2 more to go. What is my impression? I'm not really sure at this point. The only thing I've gotten out of it is play with a metronome and play slow and play steady and slow, and then gradually increase the metronome, which I've heard that many times before. And I'm going to do that. We'll see how it goes. I also want to point out that, as far as the setup they have there at Guitar Center, the pianos are not the greatest. They didn't even have foot pedals hooked up to the piano. And when they did hook one up, the polarity was reversed, so it wasn't working, and there was time wasted with that. 25 minutes goes by really fast, so they really should be more on the ball. The rooms are soundproof, and they're really dark, and they have a spotlight that kind of shines down on you. So it's kind of glaring. So I'm looking at the sheet music, and I got this bright light coming down. It's kind of really distracting. But the truth of the matter is you're going to be playing in a lot of crappy environments when you're playing live, even if you're at a recital, or even if if you're in a bar or whatever. Nothing's going to be like playing at home. So these are things you just have to deal with and try and overcome. So that is my tip for this week, and I'll do a part 2 of this. We'll see you next time.